Sarah Chen stood motionless before the gleaming glass doors of the Golden Fork, one of downtown Portland's most acclaimed restaurants. Her military medals, proudly pinned to her navy blue blazer, caught the late afternoon sun. After 3 tours in Afghanistan as a combat medic, she'd seen humanity at its worst and its finest. Yet nothing had prepared her for what was about to unfold on this seemingly ordinary Tuesday evening. Inside, the restaurant hummed with the gentle clink of fine china and muted conversations. The maitre d', Maxwell Thompson, barely glanced up from his leather-bound reservation book as Sarah approached the podium. His eyes darted across her face, then down to her medals, before settling on her hands resting on the mahogany stand. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice carrying a practiced smoothness, "but we're fully committed this evening." Sarah's military training kicked in: observe, analyze, respond. The half-empty dining room behind him told a different story. 2 parties had just been seated, their menus still unopened on pristine white tablecloths. "I can see several open tables," she said quietly, maintaining her composure. "I made a reservation 3 weeks ago." Chen, party of 4. Thompson's fingers flicked through the pages with deliberate slowness. "I'm afraid I don't see that reservation. Perhaps you tried booking through an unofficial channel?" His tone carried an edge that made several nearby diners glance up from their meals. What happened next would later be captured by 3 different cell phones and become the spark that ignited a citywide conversation about discrimination and veterans' rights. Sarah, still standing ramrod straight, pulled up her confirmation email. The timestamp showed 9:43 a.m., 3 weeks prior. Thompson's dismissive wave of his hand sent her phone screen tilting toward the floor, casting its blue glow across the polished tiles. "These things happen," he said, louder now, drawing more attention. "Maybe try one of the establishments in the Pearl District? They might be more accommodating." The emphasis on the last word hung in the air like smoke. For Sarah, the world seemed to slow down. Her mind flashed back to the dusty streets of Kandahar, where she'd treated civilians and soldiers alike, never once questioning their worth based on anything but their immediate need for care. She thought of her grandfather, who'd fought segregation in the military decades before, and her mother, who'd always taught her that dignity was something you carried within, not something others could take away. The restaurant's other patrons had fallen silent. A young couple near the door whispered behind their menus. An elderly man at the bar slowly lowered his martini glass, his knuckles white against the stem. In that moment, Sarah made a decision that would reshape not just her evening, but the entire community's understanding of justice and respect. Reaching into her blazer pocket, she withdrew her phone once more. This time, she opened her camera app and began recording. "I want to be very clear about what's happening here," she said, her voice steady and clear. "I'm a decorated veteran, I have a confirmed reservation, and I'm being denied service without cause. Would you like to explain why?" Thompson's practiced smile faltered. Behind him, a junior server dropped a water glass, its crash punctuating the tension. The restaurant's owner, Gerald Mackenzie, emerged from his office, drawn by the commotion. His face shifted from annoyance to concern as he assessed the situation. What happened next would be described by witnesses as both a masterclass in dignity and a moment of pure justice. Sarah, still recording, began methodically documenting every detail: the half-empty dining room, her confirmation email, the medals on her chest. She interviewed willing patrons who'd observed the exchange, collected business cards from those offering to serve as witnesses, and even caught Thompson's hasty retreat to the back office on camera. The video ended up on multiple social media platforms by midnight. Local veterans groups shared it widely, adding context about Sarah's distinguished service record and her ongoing work with wounded warriors. But it was what happened next that truly transformed this from a local incident into a national conversation about respect, service, and the treatment of veterans in civilian spaces. Sarah's phone buzzed at 3 a.m. The notification showed a direct message from an account she initially assumed was fake. But the blue checkmark and the message's contents suggested otherwise. Tech billionaire and social media mogul Elon Musk had seen her video. His message was brief but clear: "This ends now. Tomorrow, lunch? As dawn broke over Portland, Sarah sat in her small apartment, watching the video's view count climb into the millions. Her phone hadn't stopped buzzing with messages of support, media requests, and offers of legal assistance. But it was the last line of Musk's message that kept drawing her attention: bring your medals. We're going to teach them what service really means. The story could have ended there, another viral moment of injustice captured and shared. But Sarah Chin wasn't interested in viral fame or revenge. She wanted something more valuable: change. As she prepared for bed, finally exhausted from the evening's events, she began drafting a plan. This wouldn't just be about one restaurant or one incident. This would become a movement to ensure that no veteran, no person, would face such discrimination again. Little did the Golden Fork know, but their actions that evening had set in motion a chain of events that would transform not just their establishment, but the entire city's approach to veteran services and anti-discrimination policies. As Sarah finally drifted off to sleep, her medals catching the first light of dawn from their place on her bedside table, she couldn't have known that tomorrow would bring changes that would echo far beyond Portland's city limits. The next day would prove to be one of the most remarkable in the Golden Fork's 30-year history. But that's another story, one that would show just how powerful the combination of dignity, determination, and unexpected allies could be in the fight for justice and respect. Dawn broke over Portland as Sarah Chin sat at her modest kitchen table, surrounded by a growing collection of legal documents, social media printouts, and handwritten notes. The viral video of last night's incident at the Golden Fork had reached 5 million views, spawning thousands of comments and shares. Her phone buzzed incessantly with messages of support, but Sarah remained focused on her laptop screen, meticulously documenting every detail of what had transpired. A notification popped up, another message from Elon Musk: car arriving in 30. Bringing someone you should meet. Sarah glanced at her military medals, now carefully arranged in their display case. She'd learned in the military that preparation was key to any successful operation, and this would be no different. While waiting, she reviewed the dossier she'd compiled overnight. The Golden Fork's history revealed a pattern: subtle but persistent complaints about discriminatory practices, all carefully managed through private settlements and non-disclosure agreements. A former employee had reached out anonymously, sharing internal emails that suggested a systematic bias in their seating policies. The sleek black Tesla that pulled up outside her apartment complex carried not just Elon Musk, but also Regina Martinez, one of the state's most prominent civil rights attorneys. Your video caught my attention, Regina said as they settled into the car's plush interior. But it's what you didn't post that interests me more. Sarah shared her findings: the pattern of complaints, the NDAs, the whispered stories from other veterans who'd faced similar treatment but stayed silent. Regina nodded, her experienced eyes scanning the documents. This isn't just about one night at a restaurant, she said. This is about systematic discrimination hiding behind Portland's progressive facade. Elon, unusually subdued, listened intently. I've seen how social media can drive change, he said, but it needs to be strategic. What's your endgame here, Sarah? Sarah pulled out a carefully drafted proposal. The Golden Fork is just the beginning. We need citywide change. Mandatory sensitivity training for service industry workers, clear protocols for handling discrimination complaints, and a veterans advocacy office with real teeth. The next few hours were spent in intensive planning. Regina outlined legal strategies while Elon focused on amplifying the message through his vast social media network. But it was Sarah's military experience that proved most valuable. She understood that this was about winning hearts and minds, not just a legal battle. By mid-morning, their phones were buzzing with news that the Golden Fork had issued a carefully worded apology, clearly crafted by their crisis management team. But Sarah wasn't interested in apologies, she wanted action. The restaurant statement had inadvertently provided ammunition by referring to the incident as a misunderstanding, despite clear video evidence to the contrary. Regina's legal team began compiling testimonies from other veterans and minorities who'd faced similar treatment. Each story strengthened their case, building a compelling narrative of systematic discrimination masked by Portland's progressive reputation. Social media channels lit up with hashtag service denied and hashtag veterans fight back, trending nationally by noon. As dawn broke over Portland, Sarah sat in her small apartment, watching the video's view count climb into the millions. Her phone hadn't stopped buzzing with messages of support, media requests, and offers of legal assistance. But it was the last line of Musk's message that kept drawing her attention: "Bring your medals. We're going to teach them what service really means." The story could have ended there, another viral moment of injustice captured and shared. But Sarah Chin wasn't interested in viral fame or revenge. She wanted something more valuable: change. As she prepared for bed, finally exhausted from the evening's events, she began drafting a plan. This wouldn't just be about one restaurant or one incident. This would become a movement to ensure that no veteran, no person, would face such discrimination again. Little did the Golden Fork know, but their actions that evening had set in motion a chain of events that would transform not just their establishment, but the entire city's approach to veteran services and anti-discrimination policies. As Sarah finally drifted off to sleep, her medals catching the first light of dawn from their place on her bedside table, she couldn't have known that tomorrow would bring changes that would echo far beyond Portland's city limits. The next day would prove to be one of the most remarkable in the Golden Fork's 30-year history. But that's another story, one that would show just how powerful the combination of dignity, determination, and unexpected allies could be in the fight for justice and respect. Dawn broke over Portland as Sarah Chin sat at her modest kitchen table, surrounded by a growing collection of legal documents, social media printouts, and handwritten notes. The viral video of last night's incident at the Golden Fork had reached 5 million views, spawning thousands of comments and shares. Her phone buzzed incessantly with messages of support, but Sarah remained focused on her laptop screen, meticulously documenting every detail of what had transpired. A notification popped up, another message from Elon Musk: "Car arriving in 30. Bringing someone you should meet." Sarah glanced at her military medals, now carefully arranged in their display case. She'd learned in the military that preparation was key to any successful operation, and this would be no different. While waiting, she reviewed the dossier she'd compiled overnight. The Golden Fork's history revealed a pattern: subtle but persistent complaints about discriminatory practices, all carefully managed through private settlements and non-disclosure agreements. A former employee had reached out anonymously, sharing internal emails that suggested a systematic bias in their seating policies. The sleek black Tesla that pulled up outside her apartment complex carried not just Elon Musk, but also Regina Martinez, one of the state's most prominent civil rights attorneys. "Your video caught my attention," Regina said as they settled into the car's plush interior. "But it's what you didn't post that interests me more." Sarah shared her findings: the pattern of complaints, the NDAs, the whispered stories from other veterans who'd faced similar treatment but stayed silent. Regina nodded, her experienced eyes scanning the documents. "This isn't just about one night at a restaurant," she said. "This is about systematic discrimination hiding behind Portland's progressive facade." Elon, unusually subdued, listened intently. "I've seen how social media can drive change," he said, "but it needs to be strategic." "What's your endgame here, Sarah?" Sarah pulled out a carefully drafted proposal. "The Golden Fork is just the beginning. We need citywide change. Mandatory sensitivity training for service industry workers, clear protocols for handling discrimination complaints, and a veterans advocacy office with real teeth." The next few hours were spent in intensive planning. Regina outlined legal strategies while Elon focused on amplifying the message through his vast social media network. But it was Sarah's military experience that proved most valuable. She understood that this was about winning hearts and minds, not just a legal battle. By mid-morning, their phones were buzzing with news that the Golden Fork had issued a carefully worded apology, clearly crafted by their crisis management team. But Sarah wasn't interested in apologies, she wanted action. The restaurant statement had inadvertently provided ammunition by referring to the incident as a misunderstanding, despite clear video evidence to the contrary. Regina's legal team began compiling testimonies from other veterans and minorities who'd faced similar treatment. Each story strengthened their case, building a compelling narrative of systematic discrimination masked by Portland's progressive reputation. Social media channels lit up with #ServiceDenied and #VeteransFightBack, trending nationally by noon. Local businesses, sensing the shifting tide, began reaching out. Several prominent restaurant owners offered to implement immediate changes to their policies, eager to distance themselves from the Golden Fork's practices. Sarah saw an opportunity to transform this crisis into a citywide movement for change. The afternoon brought unexpected allies. A group of tech entrepreneurs, inspired by Elon's involvement, pledged to develop a mobile app for reporting and tracking discrimination incidents. Veterans organizations mobilized their members, organizing peaceful demonstrations outside the Golden Fork and other establishments with questionable histories. Sarah's military training had taught her the importance of maintaining momentum while avoiding escalation. She carefully coordinated with local media, ensuring the story remained focused on systemic change rather than revenge. Each interview emphasized solutions rather than accusations, drawing more supporters to their cause. By evening, the Golden Fork's management requested a meeting. Sarah agreed, but on her terms. The meeting would be recorded, and she would bring her own team of advisors. Regina prepared the legal framework for what would become known as the Portland Promise, a comprehensive agreement that would set new standards for business conduct and veterans' rights. The day's events had transformed Sarah's personal humiliation into a powerful catalyst for change. Local politicians began calling, eager to associate themselves with the movement. But Sarah remained focused on the bigger picture, creating lasting change that would benefit not just veterans, but anyone who'd ever faced discrimination in public spaces. As night fell, Sarah sat with Regina and Elon in a quiet coffee shop, reviewing their progress. The lawsuit they'd prepared was comprehensive, but it was just one part of a larger strategy. Tomorrow, they would present their proposal to the City Council, a draft ordinance that would require businesses to implement anti-discrimination training and establish clear reporting procedures for violations. This isn't just about one restaurant anymore, Sarah said, looking at the growing list of supporters on her laptop. We're creating a template for other cities to follow. Regina nodded in agreement, while Elon typed rapidly on his phone, his vast network of followers eagerly awaiting updates. The day had been exhausting but productive. Sarah's military training had prepared her for long campaigns, and she knew this was just the beginning. As they finalized their plans for tomorrow's council meeting, she couldn't help but think about how a simple dinner reservation had sparked what was becoming a nationwide conversation about respect, dignity, and the true meaning of service. The Golden Fork's discrimination had backfired spectacularly, catalyzing a movement that would reshape business practices and civil rights enforcement across the city. But for Sarah, the most important victory was yet to come, ensuring that no other veteran, no other person, would have to face what she had faced that Tuesday evening. The morning sun cast long shadows across Portland's skyline as Sarah Chen's story exploded across every major tech and news platform. What had begun as a local incident had morphed into a national conversation about discrimination, veterans' rights, and corporate accountability, largely due to one unexpected ally's strategic intervention. Elon Musk's involvement had transformed the narrative. His initial tweet, sharing Sarah's video with the caption, "Watch how we fix this live," had garnered unprecedented attention. Tech journalists scrambled to cover the story, their headlines growing more sensational by the hour. Tech titan takes on restaurant discrimination, veterans fight goes viral, Musk joins the battle. But it was what happened behind the scenes that truly set events in motion. In his characteristic style, Musk had mobilized his vast network of influential contacts. Tech entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, and social media influencers began sharing their own stories of witnessing discrimination. The hashtag service denied evolved into hashtag tech for vets, spawning a movement that went far beyond the original incident. Sarah found herself at the center of a whirlwind of activity in a makeshift command center Musk had set up in a downtown Portland co-working space. Screens displayed real-time social media analytics, legal documents, and news coverage. Regina Martinez's legal team occupied one corner, while tech developers worked frantically in another, building what would become the Vet Verified app, a platform for reporting and tracking discrimination incidents. The Golden Fork's management, overwhelmed by the massive public relations crisis, had attempted damage control through traditional channels. Their prepared statement about investigating the incident was immediately overshadowed by Musk's announcement of a new initiative, a blockchain-based rating system for businesses' treatment of veterans and minorities, complete with transparent documentation of incidents and responses. Local tech companies, sensing an opportunity to be on the right side of history, began pledging support. Portland's startup community mobilized, offering free services to veteran-owned businesses and developing tools for diversity training. The city's tech sector, often criticized for its lack of diversity, suddenly found itself at the forefront of social change. Mid-morning brought another surprise. A group of prominent Silicon Valley CEOs announced they would be flying to Portland for an emergency summit on tech's role in combating discrimination. Sarah watched as Musk coordinated with his team, turning what could have been a simple protest into a catalyst for institutional change. The atmosphere in the command center shifted when news broke that the Golden Fork's parent company's stock had plummeted. Investors, worried about the growing scandal, were dumping shares. Musk's casual tweet, "Interesting how markets respond to discrimination these days," sent further shockwaves through the business community. Sarah's military experience proved invaluable in managing the rapidly evolving situation. She organized the incoming support into strategic initiatives, legal action, tech development, community outreach, and policy reform. Each team had clear objectives and timelines, transforming an organic movement into a coordinated campaign for change. The afternoon brought unexpected challenges. Critics emerged, questioning Musk's motives and suggesting the response was disproportionate. Sarah addressed these concerns head-on in a live-streamed interview, her medals gleaming under the studio lights as she spoke about the broader implications of normalized discrimination. "This isn't about one restaurant or one incident," she explained, her voice steady and clear. "It's about creating sustainable change. When tech leaders like Mr. Musk step up, it shows that discrimination isn't just a social issue, it's a business issue, a tech issue, an everyone issue." The interview went viral, spawning dozens of think pieces about the intersection of tech, social justice, and veteran rights. Musk's followers began organizing nationwide Tech for Vets hackathons, developing solutions for veterans facing discrimination in various sectors. As evening approached, the Golden Fork's owners requested an emergency meeting. Their legal team arrived at the command center, visibly nervous about the media presence outside. What they found inside surprised them. Instead of angry protesters, they encountered a professional operation focused on systemic change. Sarah, Regina, and Musk presented their demands: comprehensive staff training, transparent hiring practices, regular audits, and participation in the new Vet Verified platform. The restaurant's representatives, faced with mounting pressure from investors and the public, had little choice but to agree. But the day's most significant development came from an unexpected source. Several major tech companies, following Musk's lead, announced the creation of a Tech for Service fund, pledging millions to support veterans' initiatives and anti-discrimination efforts nationwide. The fund would focus on developing technology solutions for tracking and preventing discrimination while supporting veteran entrepreneurs. As night fell over Portland, Sarah stood with Musk and Regina on the command center's balcony, watching the city lights flicker to life. What had begun as a personal slight had catalyzed a movement that combined social justice with technological innovation. The next day would bring new challenges, but they had built something powerful, a coalition of tech leaders, legal experts, and community activists united in the fight against discrimination. "Tomorrow," Musk said, scrolling through the constant stream of notifications on his phone, "we show them what real disruption looks like." Sarah nodded, her military training reminding her that the most important battles are won not through force, but through strategy, allies, and unwavering determination. The tech titan's involvement had transformed a local incident into a national movement, but it was Sarah's steady leadership that would ensure lasting change. As they prepared for the next day's challenges, she couldn't help but think that sometimes the most powerful allies come from the most unexpected places. The confrontation at the Golden Fork unfolded like a perfectly orchestrated military operation. Sarah Chen arrived precisely at noon, accompanied by Elon Musk, Regina Martinez, and a carefully selected group of veterans representing different eras of service. The restaurant's exterior was surrounded by media crews, their cameras trained on the gleaming glass doors. Inside, the Golden Fork's management had prepared for what they assumed would be a standard PR reconciliation. Instead, they found themselves facing a comprehensive reform proposal that would reshape their entire business model. Maxwell Thompson, the maitre d' from the incident, sat rigid in his chair as Sarah played the complete footage from that night, including previously unreleased angles showing his dismissive gestures and contemptuous expressions. The restaurant's owner, Gerald Mackenzie, attempted to maintain control of the narrative. "We acknowledge mistakes were made," he began, but Musk interrupted with characteristic directness. "Mistakes? Let's watch that footage again, this time with the AI-enhanced audio analysis that picks up the muttered comments." Sarah's military training had taught her the value of decisive action. She laid out their demands: immediate implementation of the vet-verified system, mandatory sensitivity training for all staff, and participation in a citywide initiative to combat discrimination in the service industry. But it was her personal addition that caught everyone off guard. She wanted to work with the restaurant to establish a monthly dinner program for homeless veterans. The tension in the room shifted when Sarah shared stories from her deployments, moments where she'd treated wounded civilians and enemy combatants alike with dignity and respect. "In combat, we learned that humanity isn't a privilege to be earned, but a right to be protected," she said, her voice carrying the weight of experience. Mackenzie's resistance began to crumble as Musk pulled up real-time data showing the economic impact of their continued defiance. The restaurant's online ratings had plummeted, reservations were being cancelled en masse, and their suppliers were facing pressure to sever ties. But it was Regina's presentation of the legal consequences that delivered the final blow. She unveiled documentation of 17 previous incidents of discrimination at the Golden Fork, each carefully hidden behind non-disclosure agreements. "These NDAs are void if they conceal illegal behavior," she explained, watching Mackenzie's face pale. The transformation began immediately. As cameras rolled outside, Sarah and Mackenzie emerged together to announce the Golden Fork's commitment to change. The restaurant would close for 2 weeks for comprehensive staff retraining, redesign their policies from the ground up, and launch an initiative to become Portland's most veteran-friendly establishment. Musk's social media machine captured every moment, turning the Golden Fork's journey from discrimination to redemption into a viral story of transformation. His tweets about the meeting, interspersed with calls for other businesses to follow suit, sparked a nationwide conversation about corporate responsibility and veterans' rights. The day's most powerful moment came when Sarah invited Maxwell Thompson to sit down with her for a public conversation about bias and its impacts. Thompson, initially defensive, found himself moved by Sarah's stories of treating wounded soldiers, some who looked like him, others who didn't, all deserving the same care and respect. As evening approached, the Golden Fork hosted its first-ever Veterans Appreciation Dinner. The same tables that had been fully committed just days before now served meals to veterans from every era, their stories and laughter filling the space with new energy. Sarah watched as Thompson, now wearing a vet-verified ally pin, welcomed each guest with genuine warmth. The media dubbed it the Golden Fork Revolution, but Sarah knew it was just the beginning. The real work would be ensuring these changes lasted beyond the spotlight's glare. She established a monitoring committee comprising veterans, civil rights advocates, and industry representatives to oversee the Golden Fork's transformation and help implement similar changes across the city. As the last guests departed, Sarah stood with Musk and Regina in the restaurant's kitchen, watching the staff clean up. "This is how change happens," she said, "not through force, but through understanding." Musk nodded, already typing out another tweet that would inspire similar movements in cities across the country. The confrontation had evolved into collaboration, turning the Golden Fork from a symbol of discrimination into a model for change. Sarah's military precision, combined with Musk's influence and Regina's legal expertise, had created a template for transforming conflict into progress. That night, as Portland's restaurant scene buzzed with discussions of the day's events, Sarah received messages from veterans across the country, sharing their own stories and asking for guidance in creating change in their communities. The Golden Forks transformation was becoming a catalyst for a national movement, proving that sometimes the most powerful weapon against discrimination is the courage to stand up, speak out, and demand better. The next phase would focus on spreading these changes beyond Portland, but for now, Sarah allowed herself a moment to appreciate how far they'd come. The medals on her chest caught the evening light, reminders of battles fought and won, not just on foreign soil, but right here at home. The transformation of the Golden Fork sparked a wave of change across Portland's business community. Within weeks, the restaurant emerged as an unexpected beacon of inclusivity and veterans advocacy, its story becoming a case study in corporate transformation and social responsibility. The newly implemented changes were comprehensive. Every staff member underwent intensive sensitivity training led by diversity experts and veteran advocates. The restaurant's interior now featured a wall of honor showcasing local veterans' stories. The monthly Veterans Dinner program expanded to include job training opportunities for transitioning service members. Sarah Chin worked closely with the management team to develop new hiring practices that actively sought out veteran employees. The kitchen staff now included 3 former military cooks, while front-of-house positions were filled with veterans who brought their discipline and attention to detail to customer service. Maxwell Thompson, the former maitre d' whose discriminatory actions had sparked the incident, underwent the most remarkable transformation. After several deep conversations with Sarah and participating in veteran outreach programs, he became one of the restaurant's strongest advocates for change. His personal journey from prejudice to understanding became a powerful testimony in sensitivity training sessions across the city. Elon Musk's tech solutions played a crucial role in cementing these changes. The Vet-Verified platform evolved into a comprehensive system for tracking and promoting business practices that supported veterans and minorities. Real-time feedback, blockchain-verified reviews, and transparent reporting mechanisms ensured accountability. The ripple effects spread throughout Portland's business community. Other restaurants, eager to avoid similar controversies and genuinely interested in improvement, began adopting the Golden Forks policies. The city's Chamber of Commerce created a task force, with Sarah as chair, to develop industry-wide standards for inclusive service. Regina Martinez's legal team worked to transform their victory into lasting policy change. They drafted legislation, eventually adopted by the City Council, requiring businesses to maintain clear anti-discrimination policies and providing protection for employees who reported violations. The tech community's involvement deepened. Local startups developed additional tools for promoting inclusive business practices. A mentorship program paired veteran entrepreneurs with successful tech leaders, while coding boot camps offered specialized tracks for military veterans transitioning to civilian careers. The Golden Forks financial results validated the transformation. Initial concerns about lost business proved unfounded as the restaurant became a destination for diners who appreciated its commitment to social justice. Corporate clients specifically requested the venue for events, citing its inclusive policies as a key factor. Sarah's vision extended beyond just changing one restaurant or even one city. She worked with Musk's team to document every step of the Golden Forks transformation, creating a blueprint for other businesses nationwide. The resulting guide, From Discrimination to Distinction, the Golden Fork Model, became a standard text in business schools studying corporate social responsibility. Community impact deepened as the Golden Fork initiated partnerships with local veterans organizations. The restaurant's kitchen became a training ground for aspiring veteran chefs, while its dining room hosted networking events connecting veterans with employment opportunities in various industries. The media continued to follow the story, but the focus shifted from the initial controversy to the positive changes spreading through the community. Local news channels ran regular features on veteran success stories emerging from the Golden Forks initiatives, while national publications cited Portland's transformation as a model for other cities. Perhaps most significantly, the incident sparked a broader conversation about the treatment of veterans in civilian spaces. The Golden Fork's journey demonstrated that meaningful change required more than just superficial gestures. It demanded sustained commitment, systemic reforms, and community engagement. 1 year after the incident, the Golden Fork hosted a celebration marking the anniversary of its transformation. The event brought together veterans, business leaders, tech innovators, and community members who had contributed to the change. Sarah, standing at the podium where she had once been denied service, reflected on how a moment of discrimination had catalyzed a movement for lasting change. The restaurant's transformation served as a powerful reminder that change was possible when people worked together with purpose and determination. As other cities began adopting similar initiatives, the Golden Fork story became a testament to the power of turning confrontation into collaboration, prejudice into progress, and crisis into opportunity. Looking ahead, Sarah and her allies continued working to expand their impact. The lessons learned from the Golden Fork's transformation were being adapted for different contexts and communities, proving that positive change could spread far beyond its original catalyst. The restaurant that had once exemplified discrimination had become a symbol of hope and progress, demonstrating that even the deepest biases could be overcome. Through 2 years after the incident at the Golden Fork, Sarah Chin stood before a packed auditorium at the National Veterans Rights Convention in Washington, D.C. The legacy of what began as a simple act of discrimination had evolved into a nationwide movement, transforming not just businesses, but entire communities. The Portland model, as it became known, had been adopted by over 200 cities across America. The Vet Verified platform, initially developed for restaurant accountability, now covered everything from healthcare facilities to housing services. Over 50,000 businesses nationwide had earned the platform's highest rating for veteran-friendly practices. Elon Musk's continued involvement had helped scale the initiative beyond anyone's initial expectations. The Tech for Service Fund had grown to $500 million, supporting veteran entrepreneurs and funding technological solutions for accessibility and inclusion. The original app had evolved into a comprehensive ecosystem for veteran services, from job placement to healthcare access. The Golden Fork itself had become a case study in corporate transformation. The restaurant now operated 5 locations across the Pacific Northwest, each serving as a training center for veteran employment programs. Maxwell Thompson, the former maitre d', now headed their corporate training division, sharing his personal journey of transformation with audiences nationwide. Understanding, commitment, and collective action. Legal changes sparked by Regina Martinez's work had created lasting impact. 27 states had adopted versions of the Veterans Service Access Act, establishing clear guidelines for business conduct and strong penalties for discrimination. The Department of Justice had created a specialized unit focusing on veterans' rights violations, using the Portland case as a template for enforcement. Educational institutions had embraced the movement. Business schools included the Golden Fork case study in their ethics curriculum, while hospitality programs incorporated veteran sensitivity training into their core requirements. The incident had sparked academic research into veteran discrimination, leading to better understanding and prevention strategies. Community impact extended far beyond the original goals. The Veterans Dinner Program, started at the Golden Fork, had expanded into a national network of community kitchens serving over 100,000 meals annually to homeless veterans. The program had also become a powerful networking tool, connecting veterans with employment opportunities and support services. Sarah's leadership had earned recognition from the highest levels. The Presidential Medal of Freedom now sat alongside her military decorations, acknowledging her role in advancing civil rights. But more meaningful to her were the thousands of letters from veterans sharing how the movement had impacted their lives. The tech community's contribution continued to evolve. Artificial intelligence models now helped identify patterns of discrimination in business practices, while blockchain technology ensured transparent tracking of incidents and responses. Regular hackathons focused on developing new tools for veteran support and accessibility. Public awareness had shifted dramatically. What once might have been dismissed as an isolated incident was now recognized as part of a larger pattern requiring systematic response. Media coverage had evolved from sensational headlines to thoughtful analysis of veterans' rights and corporate responsibility. The financial sector had taken notice. Investment firms now included veteran-friendly practices in their ESG criteria, while insurance companies offered preferential rates to businesses with strong inclusion policies. The business case for veteran support had become as compelling as the moral imperative. Looking ahead, Sarah and her allies focused on sustainability. They established the Veterans' Rights Leadership Academy, training the next generation of advocates to carry forward the movement. The curriculum combined military precision with civilian diplomacy, preparing leaders to address future challenges. Research showed measurable impact. Veteran unemployment had decreased by 23% in cities adopting the Portland model, while reported incidents of discrimination had fallen by over 60%. But beyond statistics, the movement had changed how society viewed and valued veteran service. As Sarah concluded her keynote speech, she shared a photo of the Golden Fork's original Fully Committed sign, now displayed in the Civil Rights Museum. "This wasn't just about changing one restaurant," she said. "It was about changing how we see each other, how we treat each other, and how we build a society that truly honors service." The legacy continued to grow. New initiatives focused on international expansion, adapting the model for different cultural contexts while maintaining its core principles of respect, inclusion, and accountability. What began as one veteran's stand against discrimination had become a global movement for change. The final measure of success wasn't in statistics or awards, but in the simple fact that veterans now walked into businesses across America knowing they would be treated with the dignity they deserved. The Golden Fork incident had transformed from a moment of shame into a catalyst for lasting change, proving that sometimes the most powerful legacy comes from the courage to stand up and say, "This ends now."